Good morning. This is the second take of the video where we will go through in brief to assist you how to look through the web page. It's a backup to the earlier video that we did in the office. Again, this is Saturday the 16th of February 2019. My name is Peter Zambini. I'm from South Australia. I used to be a former ALP state delegate representing community concerns, and this is a social issue. This is not a political attack to anyone, but I pursue the source of something, and the source points obviously to the very people, watchdogs, the culprits to this whole debacle. Now, you see in front of you, table, I've just presented some things, and Citizen K, who's taken the photos, thank you, Mr. K. He's standing there, so we presented this. Now, in front of you, you'll see that this is a matter that will affect all Australians. If you get a bit closer, thank you. It's not necessarily a South Australian elections, but you know that this year in 2019, either on May the 11th or May the 18th, there will be election. This has been listed as an election issue. The issue is obviously on health, the toxic health, mental health, and aligned justice outcomes, negative, and disabilities services. Just this Wednesday on TV, it appeared that it was proclaimed by the media and their research that South Australia is the worst state for delivering of mental health services and outcomes. Now, we have been saying this, but we're using their office records to establish the impropriety, the corruption, and the other misconducts of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, and also the South Australian government, Stephen Marshall, and others that mentioned in the email. Now, in here is a picture of the contents that is collected, and before it was turned into PDFs. If you take a close look, there's a lot of paperwork. We've made it very clear by putting into PDFs. Each PDF could have anything between 10, 15, maybe 200 pages. Any one of them is enough to blow the whistle. Now, the real whistleblower here is their own admin office records, the Prime Minister and Cabinet, the Honourable Australian Prime Minister Morrison, Greg, his name, the Health Minister, Greg Hunt, and obviously the Attorney General, Kristen Porter. Any one of them could have blown the whistle using their own office records. We are only the messengers. We were never needed, but they have failed in their duty to protect Australian citizens. Now, from there, that is the issue. Now, all we're doing is giving feedback. If you get a bit close, if you look at this document, it was sent to me many years ago. So I've only continued as a citizen, as an advocate, representing the whistleblowers, 174 of us who've been demonised, sanctioned, gagged. Our issue has been sidelined. That is important. So we go from there to the health issue. We've responded to that. All the admin people have to do, whether it's insurance, governments or whatever, tax department, birth certificates, is connect with each other. Now, it says in here, obviously, what they should do. Then the House of Legislation and the House of Representatives make some phone calls, check out their files, and get back to you. Now, they haven't done any of that, not only in the last 6 months, but in the years preceding. If you may come forward, you will see that there is actually automatic response, which I wrote a correspondence to Mr. Brad Crouch and also Mr. Daniel Wills, which is the political state reporter. Neither of them have acted in the public or national interest. They're just hiding to protect their own interests. But I think it says clearly in here what the issue is, and whether I write to the Prime Minister or any authorities, just like a little text. That is it. Then you make a comprehensive response by issuing them their files in a collated, itemised and detailed way, and there's no way they can't understand. They choose by their own design to orchestrate this debacle, which is impacting negatively on every citizen that tries to access the health system, the disability, mental health, and the only thing that will come out of this is a negative outcome, what we call, I suppose, a culture of corruption, impropriety, abuse of power and misconduct. Now, taking part there with the pictures, we move on to what the structure of the web page is. This is a mud map. This was actually 2 years ago constructed back in 2017 and by Argon, a web page designer, and but it's taken us. We were hoping that the authorities, the watchdogs, would have acted, but unfortunately we're put in a position where this is not so. Now here is the Prime Minister. In here has the correspondences, just recent ones. There's a big pile of them to the Prime Minister. Now, obviously, what is the issue about? As we know, the health. So when I send a correspondence, I put this in front, second that, and then I put the 4 pages to the Prime Minister. And as we saw before, 1 hour later, I ring up the correspondence unit of the Prime Minister. I talk to a staff, whether it's Sam, it's actually short for Samantha, or Craig, and they assured me, which is I'm sure they have, they've passed it on to the Chief of Staff as I've asked, to put it to the Prime Minister to take the actions as they would if, while it's politically correct or not, as if they got notifications of a terrorist attack. Of course, it is not in their interest to forward this, no more than it would be for the people of institution abuse to come forward and say, oh look, we have abused those children 30 years ago. It needed a Royal Commission to drag them forward because they're all leaking like a sieve, and it's the same thing with the state, with the banks. If it wasn't a Royal Commission, certainly the people in the banks would have continued rorting the system, stealing from their customers, and especially here in South Australia with the Oaktons thing, as I pointed out before, aged care facility debacle and the abuse of the people. And anyway, just take a little close. This is some of the things here, me at the steps of Parliament, and that is important. And that's me as a former ALP delegate. Now, I'd like to finish that back in December, I issued online to the Independent Commission Against Corruption, who's done nothing. So basically, please forward these concerns to any authority to get things done so that this class action will be acknowledged. My name is Peter Zambini from South Australia, advocating on behalf of the public interest of all Australians and taxpayers. And remember, this matter needs to be heard because primarily the real victims here are you, the 25 million citizens, the 14 million taxpayers, and secondary, the victims are the 174 and myself, whistleblowers who have been sanctioned with extreme prejudices by the people we said. If you have any questions, please contact me on peter.zambini@hotmail.com and on this video, which we intend to put on either Facebook or YouTube. Goodbye. Hope to hear from you soon.